एक्टरों से वो चीज़ें एक्सपेक्ट की जा रही हैं जो सोशल वर्कर्स से एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं या जो पॉलिटिशियन से एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं. वो नहीं हो सकता, राइट? माई मम ऑल्सो फॉर क्वाइट सम टाइम ट्राई टू मेक ends meet. So she would make tiffin dabbas that you know of, right? Tiffin dabbas for office going people.
As you go through life, and obviously those financial constraints are not in your life anymore, but does it ever fully leave you?
Actually it does not, because it's your conditioning, right? ये जहन में हमेशा ये रहता है कि everything is transient in life, nothing is permanent in life,
All of this can go away.
because it's happened to my parents before. अगर आपको इंग्लिश नहीं आती है बात करने के लिए, यू आर ऑटोमेटिकली, वो इतना नॉन कॉन्शियसली हम करने लग गए हैं, आपको हम सब कैटेगरी में डाल देते हैं. आई डिडंट रीड न्यूज़पेपर्स फॉर अ गुड कपल ऑफ इयर्स बिकॉज आई वुड वेक अप डिस्टर्ब्ड. And then I would go on social media and sort of
Say something about it.
Share my mind, which boomeranged on me, bothered me and my family. And it went on for quite some time. And then I realized, nobody cares. हमारी कंडीशनिंग वैसी हो गई, राइट? कि हम चाहते भी हैं कि लोग हमें सच बोलें,
हाँ, लेकिन सुनना नहीं है. हाँ.
And especially when it comes from an absolute stranger, तब तो ऐसा लगता है कि बड़ा बदतमीज आदमी है.
Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Thank you for having me here finally.
So you've got a lot of projects in the works, I understand, but I'm excited because we texted each other after Mirzapur.
जी.
And then I think after the second season when I was like heartbroken. With the rest of the country, I'm assuming. And then again after 12th fail.
Yes. But we've been in touch on Instagram.
But we now actually sat down and chatted. So this is really fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Likewise, I'm so excited. Really, really excited.
I want to actually start from the beginning. I want to understand. You grew up in Mumbai.
Yeah, in Mumbai, yes.
In a very different family. In the structure of your family is very different from what I understand. But what was your childhood like? Where in Bombay did you grow?
Versova.
Okay.
In Versova, Andheri West. My father was born in Shimla, but with my grandparents and his siblings moved from Shimla when he was 4 months old.
Okay.
So he was like a toddler when he moved. He does not even have any memory of Shimla. My mum was born and raised in Mumbai itself, and I have an older sibling. And we come from a very regular, average middle class family from Mumbai, classical hum do hamare do, nuclear family.
Yeah.
1 BHK flat, small but happy family. Sorry for my throat. I just want to sort of give this disclaimer that I've been sipping warm water like the last 3-4 days. So very regular middle class family, nuclear family. Father was working for a construction firm. Mother was a homemaker. Older siblings 4.5 years older. And I mean, by the time this would give you an idea of where I actually come from, my socio-economic background. When my father retired from his job, prematurely though, there were reasons for it. His retirement salary, or by the time he retired, his monthly salary was around 48,000-50,000 actually, to sum it up. So I mean, education was important. We were sent to the school nearest to our residence like every other regular middle class family. ये aspiration कभी नहीं था कि हम हमारे बच्चे को यहाँ भेजेंगे या हमारे बच्चे को वहाँ भेजेंगे. But they gave us whatever they could within their capacity, and always wanted to be an actor.
Where did that come from?
My grandfather was an actor.
Okay.
So my grandfather was a producer director in Shimla at the Gaiety Theatre, and he was All India Dramatics Competition gold medalist. So he was also awarded by the first president of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. He acted in over 100 movies as a character artist. He's been a part of movies like Naya Daur and so many other movies which I can't recall at this point in time. he was a character artist and pretty good at what he did. So hence, when he was in Shimla, he used to direct, he used to produce, and is when his colleagues told him, why don't you go to Bombay? And why don't you try your luck in movies? And he came to Bombay and he started acting in movies. And as I said, he acted in more than 100 movies as a character actor. And in those days, I'm talking about, he passed away, say 50 years ago. He passed away in 74. I'm talking about 60s. So peripheral part, secondary part. So he would play a doctor, he would play a judge, he would play a vakil, he would play an inspector or a munim.
So if you were watching TV as a child, you'd be like, oh, dekho Dadaji.
My father would make sure. My father would make sure that अगर मान लो for example कोई उनकी फिल्म आ रही है, so he would call us. तभी तो pause करने का भी time नहीं होता. He would be like, अरे जल्दी आओ दादाजी की पिक्चर आ रही है. And we would sit for an hour. And we'd be like, कहाँ है दादाजी? And वो आएंगे और वो 5 मिनट में उनका सीन खत्म हो जाएगा. And we would wait. We'll watch the entire film and we'll like, बस इतना ही था. He's like, हाँ इतना ही था. And I would silently see my father, sort of his eyes welling up. So, he worked in theatre. He did more than 100 movies. In my case, I always wanted to be an actor. It comes from because I was in this school called St. Anthony's in Warsaw. Decent in studies, but was always out of the class, either thrown out of the class or either playing football or cricket or volleyball or dancing on stage. So it began there, Faye. It began there. So my mum was summoned to school very regularly for my misdemeanor. Very naughty. And when I started growing up, say post 7th or 8th is when they said, okay, I think he should sort of move in that direction.
Oh. Yeah. Actually, that's really good because otherwise schools back then would say that, oh, iska kya hoga?
वो भी बोलते थे, वो मेरे सामने बोलते थे कि इसका क्या होगा? He doesn't study, we won't allow him to appear for the exams. This happened in my class 10th.
Ooh, that's scary. Yeah. I'm from the south. That's very scary. That's like life and death.
So I flunked in 7 out of 9 subjects in my pre-boards.
You're like giving me anxiety, right?
In pre-boards, which is an internal thing which your school conducts, say maybe a month or month and a half in advance. And all that you do in the last 1 month is revision.
Yes.
I flunked in 7 subjects out of 9. And my mum was summoned again for like the 1000th time. And they said, we will actually not provide him a hall ticket or we will not allow him to appear for the exam.
Just repeat the year.
Yeah, repeat the year. Yeah. And then I picked up the book again, say maybe a month before I passed. Don't ask me how much I got, please.
I've heard a lot of scary things in my career, but that was a very stressful story.
Yeah. And then especially when you come from a regular middle class family and you have an older sibling, you see him in college. And you see that, okay, that is also your natural progression. And you actually, and also at that point in time, what happened was, yes, graduation was the ultimate goal because graduation was the bare minimum. But what also started happening at that point, during that time, was most of my friends would do 10+2 and immediately go to Merchant Navy. And, they started sailing after 12th standard, as you say. So there was this thing at the back of my head that I actually have to sort of pass. I have to go to college. I also have to start making money because most of my friends by then, or the locality I came from, or the kind of families that I saw around me, post 10th, most boys and a few girls around, they already started working in call centers. Because that was the thing.
Yeah, that was the thing.
10,000 rupees salary.
Which was a lot of
Which
money.
was a lot.
Yeah.
And you knew that
if your English was decent, that was all you needed to get.
And even if it was not decent, they would teach you, they would sort of train you for 2 months. Yeah. And they would also pay you for those training periods. And they would have cafe coffee days in their office. And they would have subways in their office. And that was aspiration.
Yeah.
So there were multiple things running at the back of my head. But when I was a kid, and because it was Warsaw, it was Mumbai, Bollywood was always around. So as kids, when we would play there were so many movie shootings happening around our locality. So I was one of those kids who would stand behind the rope and watch Jackie Shroff fight with Mahesh Anand and see Anil Kapoor run, towards Versova Jetty, because it was the thing. Most action sequences, a lot of action sequences were shot there. Grungy, local.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was always there.
What was the gap between, you said your father retired prematurely,
Yeah.
and you making your first salary? Yeah.
He retired because my brother and I both started working.
Okay.
And another reason why he retired prematurely was because he was a loyalist, worked in one company all his life, had a rapport with his boss, and the boss unfortunately passed away due to a heart attack prematurely. And then the wife took over. But my father was not sort of as comfortable as he was, because firstly, losing his mentor or a friend was a shock to him. It took him a while to overcome that. And then, of course, because he had to look after his own family, he went back to work again. But he was not feeling what he felt all these years there at the same place. And then by that time, my brother was working in a call center. He was working at, he was working at Mindspace somewhere in Malad, Mindspace. I was hired by Shamak Dawar as an assistant instructor in his troupe. I was making my own money. I was paying for my own train pass. I was paying for my own coffee at Barista. So I was looking after myself. And that's when he sort of said, I think I want to just hang up my boots. My mum also, for quite some time, tried to make ends meet. So she would make tiffin dabbas that you know of, right? Tiffin dabbas for office-going people. So she would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, start cooking at 4 o'clock, and then by 6 o'clock she had to prepare meals for, like, say, 20 people. And then the dabbawala would come in the morning and take the dabba. And then she would send the kids off to school. And then she would go back to bed and sleep, probably have breakfast and go back, or whatever she did at that time. And wake up, like, again in the afternoon, because the kids would come back from school, pack us off to tuitions, and then she would tutor kids at home from 4 to 7.
Wow.
And then cook and care and feed and clean and do everything that I just spoke of, and then call it a day by 11, 12, and wake up again at 3:30 in the morning. So yeah.
Do you feel that, as you go through life, and obviously those financial constraints are not in your life anymore, but does it ever fully leave you?
It actually does not. And, I know why you ask this, because you ask someone who's also a very wise person, and I'm sure it's a very deep thing that you asked, so actually it does not, because it's your conditioning, right? You've been conditioned like this for so many years. It almost becomes, or your paranoia or your insecurities, they become a part of you. So even today, like you said, my tomorrows are better than my todays, God's been kind. But वो DNA जो है वो नहीं बदलता आपका. And कोई फाइनेंशियल इनसिक्योरिटी नहीं है, पर एक ये जहन में हमेशा ये रहता है कि everything is transient in life, nothing is permanent in life.
All of this can go away.
Because it's happened to my parents before. They used to live in Juhu, Janki Kutir, neighbors to the Kapoor family. A classical Hindi film story, family feud, thrown out of their own home, living in godowns with a baby for almost a year, and then finally moving to Warsaw. So they've seen massive ups and downs. So even though when you're not a part of it, your parents make sure that you remember this through their experiences. The transience of life, that fickle nature of life, because that is how it was for them. And probably that is how it is for most people. Today I am sitting in a position of privilege. Today I might have not felt what I felt, say, maybe 20 years ago when I started off. But can that not happen to me again tomorrow? Of course it can happen to me, or anyone for that matter of fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I remember my mom used to, so my parents used to, I have 2 sisters and a brother, and we were all taught all life skills. So, jaru, puja, cooking, everything. Because the assumption was, you may not have help, or you may not be able to afford help, or it's a life skill, you have to learn how to do it. And I distinctly remember my mom teaching me to hand wash clothes.
Same.
Saying you will never know, maybe one day you won't have a washing machine.
Same.
And you need to know how to hand wash your own clothes. Nothing is guaranteed in life. And it was such a real part of that generation.
And that is so character building.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry I cut you. You were saying something.
No, exactly. I was agreeing with you.
It has built my character and my brother's character. And pardon me when I say this thing, but my mother, it was not a guy thing to sweep.
Yeah.
Or wash bartan, or wash clothes with hands, or clean the toilet. But my mother made sure that both the boys did that. Firstly, because we could not afford a help.
Yeah.
She was exhausted. And when the boys were able enough, big enough, to sort of lend a helping hand, why not? We were even taught to cook. Basic cooking is essential. So whether it was jhadu, it was pocha, it was bartan, it was cleaning the toilet, it was changing bed sheets.
Same.
It was sort of, folding the clothes and putting them in their respective places, or dusting, or cleaning the fans, or probably going to the market and fetching the groceries that need to be done. All of these things were taught to both my brother and me. And had that not happened, I don't think I would have been what I am today.
Nor would you have survived the lockdown. We were all tested on the life skills we learned as
And
children.
it came in so handy.
Yeah.
Came in super handy. My wife, she accidentally hurt herself and she got 6 stitches on her palm and on her right palm, her stronger hand. So I said, no problem. I'll take care of it. And I did as much as I could. Not that I'm an expert. But these life skills are very important.
Yeah. And I also feel that, even if you can now, if one can afford to hire the help to do all of these jobs, if you personally know how hard it is to do bartan and to wash the floor,
You're kinder to them.
You're more respectful.
Yes.
You you need to be more respectful of whoever is making your meals in our heat waves. I mean, we're in a November that's really uncomfortable and kitchens are really hot. And only if you've stood there and done it yourself will you know how hard it is. And it's just that basic human respect is so much more if you've done it yourself. And I think that I hope to be able to pass it on.
I'm sure
to
you
the next
will.
generation.
You're a very, whatever little I know of you, or whatever little conversation we've had, or whatever I've heard of you, or I know of you, you're a very robust woman, and I'm sure you will pass it on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you get stressed out though when you have
I have a little
you have a
boy.
little boy? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you now are you catch yourself thinking about what kind of parenting you want to do and what kind of parent you'll be, and are you aware that you're raising your son with much more abundance than you were raised with, and that will lead to a different person?
Actually, yes. But also, I'm not being too harsh on myself.
Okay.
Because I'm really blessed because I have my family around. I have my wife's family around. There are always a couple of elders in the family to guide us, to help us. And one thing that we've been advised, and my wife and I, Sheetal, we have gained enough experience in life, not necessarily say because of my son Vardhan, but because the basic nature of life is as such that tum kitna bhi plan kar lo.
Yes.
Tum kitna bhi plan kar lo, great. You read books about how the Danes parent their kids, or how the Scandinavians do that, or how the Singaporeans do that. Great. It's good to know a few things, which could come in handy. But as parents, we also sort of tend to forget that we also need to shed our own skin. We also need to sort of see the world anew with the child, grow with the child. Because what also generally tends to happen in the subcontinent, which I've also seen in China and not just India, is that when a child is born, you have your set brackets. You've already sort of bracketed things in your mind. कि, for example, कि मुझे ये नहीं मिला तो मैं अपने बच्चे को ये दूंगा.
Yes.
या फिर मेरे साथ ये हुआ तो इसके साथ ही नहीं होगा. Or like the question you pose, sort of, you have everything in abundance and, the raising would be different in comparison to yours. Of course, these things do exist. But there are so many things that my wife and I and the families and each member of that family has to unlearn at their respective stages in life. So I also need to grow with the child. I need to be more adaptable rather than me setting a pattern saying कि इसको ऐसे बड़ा करना है. It's like कि हम ऐसे बड़े होंगे तो थोड़ा better होगा.
Does climate change keep you up at night?
Climate change.
As a parent.
As a parent,
I used to. So for me, climate change has always been one of those things that worries me because of just the havoc that we have placed on
I'm
the earth.
sad, but I'm not worried because
Really?
I'm sad.
Okay.
I'm sad.
Because I feel like, okay, this is the mess that we're going to hand over now and leave to the next generation. And we've sort of messed it up.
Yeah, but these are things beyond your control. I mean, you can do your bit, but also the time that we are living in, we need to accept reality that sustainability is very expensive. Sustainability is extremely expensive. So as much as I would want to sort of myself, make sure that what I do with the tap, what I do with my electricity, or what am I doing through my contribution, I think जब तक ये collectively हम सब नहीं आए.
I think we're beyond that point. I don't think your tap is going to save anyone.
We are way beyond that point.
I think that we're at the point now where we need to force governments to make better decisions. I'm not sure how to do that, and I feel I feel the burden of not being able to have achieved more that way on that change. And
but
I keep
this
wondering
is something so vast that we all need to come together. You will not believe there is a library in my society, Faye. When we took our son down for a stroll in his stroller, I just got a little tired. I said, I'm going to take a seat for like 10 minutes. And I picked out an NGC magazine. And it's a library, an accumulated library, books donated by residents throughout the society. And I happened to pick out an NGC magazine. And I was curious कि ये कितनी पुरानी है. And I saw it was 1996. You know what was the cover page of a 1996 NGC magazine? Global warming. They've been saying it since then.
Yeah.
In fact, if we actually Google,
We were taught in school.
People have been saying this since the 70s actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, industrialization took over. I mean, this is such a vast topic. I feel sad.
I do want to ask you. India used to be a socialist country. We're now very capitalist. How do you feel about between capitalism and socialism and the sort of the idea of wealth that we have today, where billionaires are celebrated, the idea of becoming more and more and more and more rich?
I don't subscribe
rich?
to the latter.
Okay.
I don't subscribe to the latter because also before I begin sharing my heart and mind, I'm still learning. What I feel is right today, I might not feel right about the same thing, say maybe 8 years or 10 years from now. We're all constantly evolving.
Yes, we're constantly evolving.
So with regards to socialism, I mean, a lot of us also need to reflect on history. Not that I'm a history buff or a historian or an I don't claim to be any of it, but whatever little I have understood is we haven't learned from our past. What happened in Russia, there was this massive wave of socialism in Russia.
Yeah.
There came a new wave, socialism is also possible. What happened after that? When it comes to capitalism, I mean, capitalism was the right thing at that point in time. If you ask my father, he was in support of liberalization. It was the need of the hour at that point in time. Arresting global warming right now and acting immediately is the need of the hour now. So different times need different things. I don't know what we need now. But coming to the latter part of your question, I see that as greed. I think when you're talking about getting richer, rich getting more richer, the poor getting more poor, the poor getting poorer, the disparity it's almost at break point right now, right? It's heartbreaking, but that is how it is. But I'm also a pragmatist in a sense that I might go back home and journal about it because a part of my heart pains, but I'm not going to waste my life over it. I might tell a story about it. I might make the most of the medium that I'm good at, and I believe in the power of storytelling. I will do that. But am I going to spend sleepless nights over what is happening to the world? I mean, I stopped reading newspapers specifically for that at a point in time. And I'm a very sensitive guy.
Yeah.
Things bother a lot and very easily. I didn't read newspapers for a good couple of years because I would wake up disturbed. And then I would go on social media and sort of
say something about
it, share my mind, which boomeranged on me, bothered me and my family. And it went on for quite some time. And then I realized, nobody cares. So just look after your health. Tell the stories you want to tell. Do your bit. Definitely do your bit. But, some things never change. Some things have always been the way they've been. Some things will always be the way they ought to be even after you're gone. So, I definitely tried doing my bit. But I don't spend sleepless nights.
Did you stop voicing your opinion on social media because of the trolling and the backlash, or because it just became uncomfortable on projects and directors and producers were like,
no, thankfully that never happened with me.
It never happened.
Thankfully, the people I worked with, thankfully that they never cared about it. They primarily hired me for my skill sets.
Okay.
I stopped talking because, as I said, I'm a very sensitive guy. It really bothered me. And when my family saw me getting bothered, that bothered me all the more. And then I realized that my primary responsibility is towards my family. They are the only ones I'm actually answerable to, or the only ones I actually would die or kill for. Yes, I want to be a small part in this big puzzle about social change. I would rather do it through my work. I would rather do that through my work. It was very toxic. I'm not active on social media for the last good 2-3 years, in fact. Maybe more. But back then, I would sleep with a heavy heart. And I decided that if at all I have to say something, I am privileged enough, or God has blessed me enough to utilize the privilege I have, the medium that I have, the voice I have through my work.
It's really interesting because the US is going through an election right now.
Yeah.
And I was just writing a story about it yesterday about how celebrities and artists pick sides and they endorse a candidate and they effectively tell their fan base, like a Taylor Swift or a Beyonce and Oprah tells their fan base, this is the person I'm supporting, go out and vote for this person. We live in a very different reality where artists have to almost be secretive about what they think and feel in order to not disrupt their working space.
Yeah, because there are so many factors to it, na, Faye?
But also, isn't being an artist about having opinions and feeling? And
I mean, a lot of people did that.
it didn't, yeah.
A lot of people did that. I mean, the who's who did that when the atmosphere was a little more conducive, where you could talk about it. Today, even I don't think you can talk about it. Some people still do. And when some do, they are labeled either or. Either it's the left or either it's the right. We jump to conclusions immediately and we start condescending, we start labeling. Nobody would want that. I mean, we point fingers at others about tolerance, but nobody wants to look at their own selves. India has been a very complex country. It is a complex country. Things are not as simple as one wants them to be. It's pretty complex. I think extremism of everything is toxic. So I think most artists realize that, you know what, I really want to say something. Nobody actually cares. I want to take care of my family, maybe like me. And if I have to actually go and exercise my right to vote for someone, I don't need to endorse it. I can go out there and do my job. At least I'm doing that.
But do you feel that you have the freedom to tell the kind of stories you want to tell?
I think so, of course. I think so.
Because if you whittle it down to, this is the job, I'm simply going to do my job, and if I have a message, it will be through the work. Is there enough freedom then for the work, in your opinion?
See, in my case, it has always been.
Okay.
So I can only speak for myself. When I did a Death in the Gunj, I wanted to speak about mental health, or I wanted to speak about emotional vulnerability. I wanted to talk about toxic masculinity. I did that. When I wanted to talk about class disparity, when I wanted to talk about an underdog story in a conventional term per se, I made a 12th fail.
Yeah.
When I want to talk about, for example, the movie that is releasing on the 15th of November, I want to talk about what happened in 2002, what it meant to the country then, or what was the role of the fourth pillar of our democracy. I'm able to do that. So if you ask me, I don't think I have had a roadblock in going out there and telling my story. If I find a roadblock in a particular medium, there is always another door open for me. I have the OTT, I have the theatre, I have the theatre circuit, I have YouTube, I can do podcasts, I can do everything that I want. So if I want to go out there and express myself, a particular medium might not I might face certain things in a particular medium, but there is always another option available. If you really want to go out there and voice yourself, you can do that.
So the new film that's coming out,
The Sabarmati Report.
the Sabarmati Report, is based Godhra, 2002.
Yeah.
And it's
But not the riots.
not the riots.
Because the world has spoken about the riots. Most of the stuff has been written about the riots. Not just in India, world over. The film is about the burning of the Sabarmati Express, which was, for the lack of a better word, which was the genesis of everything that happened after. So that's what the film is about. It's an investigative drama, thriller. So that's what the film is about.
Is it a political film? Is there a political bent to it? Because
See, this is...
because of the subject matter.
Unfortunately, this is the preconceived notion. The backdrop is political. Because that, unfortunately, now that is what the film is about. Unfortunately, that particular incident is identified as political. the backdrop is political, but what we are talking about is, what we are actually talking about are those 59 people who died. So there has been a very conscious effort from the makers, from the writers, from the researchers, from the actors, everyone involved with the project, that we know there will be a preconceived notion about this, because this particular unfortunate incident is identified as a political incident in our country. We've taken it on the chin, knowing that we are going to get into deep water. But we want to talk about it through a human lens. And such is life, or such are things that, you know, what could be my reality, what my reality is, could be your propaganda, and vice versa. But as I said, you know, you have to go out there, tell the story, cannot be bogged down by what the other person thinks or feels. The idea is to go out there and tell a story. So if I have to answer your question, the backdrop is political, because unfortunately that incident is identified as a political incident. But what we are primarily speaking about is the role of the media, especially from 2002 to 2008-9, what the fourth pillar of our democracy did, what the many committees that sat down, the many renditions, many rumors, the many stories that circulated, it's all that.
When you heard this script and you decided that you would be part of this project, I'm assuming there's a story there.
Yeah.
Did you think that could it be seen as justifying the riots that happened after?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
So you
Tell
need
me
to
that
see-
story.
You need to see the film for that.
Okay.
And I'm absolutely sure of the fact that it is not as the film is not as, I mean, the film has a lot more deeper things to talk about. We are not justifying anything. We don't want to, and we are not those kind of people. We want to go out there, talk about what nobody spoke about. So when the film was offered to me, I was honestly, the first reaction that I had, I was a little apprehensive. I was like, okay, is this another propaganda movie? Will I just be a tool? But Ekta and I share a very strong relationship. We go back, say, more than 15, 16 years. I trust her. So I was not just provided with the script, I was also provided with the research material along with the script. And it was my discretion that, okay, you read the script, you sort of, corroborate it with the research material we've provided. I went through it myself. And I felt that we need to tell the story. And hence I came on board.
There's also, I understand, an angle between vernacular language journalists and English language journalists who are considered elite. What is it?
I think it is still prevalent. And it's not just about journalists. I actually began this quest to sort of talk about our regional languages or Hindi in 12th fail also. So when he's sitting in the interview, when he talks about, glass se koi farak nahi padta, sirf pani saaf hona chahiye. I've seen that in my life around. Faye, we are so judgmental in life. अगर आपको इंग्लिश नहीं आती है बात करने के लिए, यू आर ऑटोमेटिकली, वो इतना नॉन कॉन्शियसली हम करने लग गए, आपको हम सब कैटेगरी में डाल देते हैं. और अगर आप किसी छोटे शहर के आदमी को देखो तो उसका आधा कॉन्फिडेंस तो इसी चीज़ से ख़त्म हो चुका है कि वो दिल्ली और मुंबई वालों की तरह अंग्रेज़ी नहीं बोल सकता. Now when it comes to our film, when it comes to journalism, there are, and nobody better than you would know this thing, कि there are regional journalists who nobody's heard of, who are outsourced groundwork, data collection. वो दिन रात मेहनत करते हैं वो दिल्ली वालों के आधे पैसे कमाते हैं, but they don't get the respect they deserve. So this is another parallel track in the film which we are talking about.
Well, interestingly now, in the space of journalism, Hindi journalism has a far wider audience and does much better than English journalism because the audience is, I used to have
also because of mobile phones.
Yes.
Also
I used to have a boss
of,
who would say that, when you're working in India, you must remember that everybody who speaks English also speaks Hindi, but not the other way around. So if you can communicate in Hindi, just the power of your communication is that much wider. So I think that has changed.
That is considerably changed. That has considerably changed, but not in its entirety, according to me, even today. So when I say that, I mean only post-COVID and post-digitization we've seen regional languages sort of coming into their own, whether it is movies, whether it is news, whether it is content, or whether it is music or anything, because of digitization. But that was not the case back in 2002.
Yeah. I think what has also happened is there's been a decentralization of media in the sense that a lot of people have left mainstream media. So the Noida channels don't have the influence that they used to have. And that influence has now broken down to smaller journalists functioning
It's
in their...
dissipated. It's sort of dissipated or fragmented. But I think Delhi and Noida still have that pull and power.
They have the money.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the money because of the power. Because
we now have, for example, sort of YouTube channels, journalists functioning on YouTube channels, reporting only from Coimbatore, reporting only on tribal affairs, reporting only on Dalit rights, reporting only on rights of women in central Uttar Pradesh, like that. So the fact that I see it as, the country now is a tapestry of independent journalists who are all covering various subject matters, and together they do the job. But yes, the power
but how much of it
and
reaches,
the money,
how much of it reaches the front pages of our so-called mainstream newspapers?
They won't, because for various reasons.
That's what the movie also talks about. That is exactly what the movie also talks about.
But so this is an odd confession, right? I was a huge Balika Vadhu fan.
So was I. Thank you.
Of course you were.
Thank you.
And I remember at that point, my mum got hooked to that show. And so I would sit with her and I would also watch, and I also got hooked to that show. And I remember at that point thinking, what a interesting and progressive sort of idea to do a show with. How did that happen? How did you wind up on that show?
So that show, I was actually doing a TV show.
How old were you?
I was 21, 22.
Oh, okay. You looked a lot younger.
22. Yeah. I had already done a TV show called Dharamveer by then.
Yes.
And it was a popular TV show, and I played the titular part. So I was almost famous. I got Dharamveer because of the Disney show. So post Dharamveer, I got the offer because most of the people knew me. So I came in midway.
But that cast was stellar. There were some really talented actors that you were,
phenomenal people.
You were on screen with.
And I also sort of, whenever I have the opportunity, I always talk about my Balika Vadhu experience because it was a major pivot point in my learning.
How so?
Because of the people that you're talking about. The star cast, the technicians that I worked with. The impact the show had and the responsibility that automatically came along with the impact of the show. It was a very different TV set, Faye. It was not a TV set wherein you went there, you shot for 16 hours a day. You would just go out there and deliver and just aim to hit the TRP mark. It was a very informed TV show. We were cognizant of what we do, despite the competition market hitting its peak. Shows were rating like 24, 25. New sponsorships had opened, television, and there were new channels coming in. But the makers of Balika Vadhu, and that also sort of reflected upon how the actors performed on set, were very cognizant of what they are doing.
You did leave television later because you felt that the stories that were being told were not progressive enough, right?
Not progressive enough, yes. One very important reason, I was underutilized. I was almost sleepwalking. In between, I was fortunate. I had a chance to do a show called Baba Aisa Var Dhundo,
Yes.
which was on NDTV Imagine. It was a love story, a beautiful love story about social taboos, about a protagonist who was vertically challenged and a so-called normal guy, and how the society sees the two of them as a couple. And that show did really well. So I was very proud and happy until then. But then things were not changing. I was hungrier. I wanted to go out there, do what I really wanted to do. I was financially stable. I got my first house at 24. And I wanted to sort of make sure that my parents are sleeping sound, because एक middle class family की चिंता यही होती है कि बेटा settle हो जाओ. Settle हो जाओ का क्या मतलब होता है? बेटा तुम घर ले लो और शादी कर लो.
Yeah.
तो उसका एक एस्पेक्ट तो मैंने पूरा कर दिया. And that is when I thought, I want to sort of try newer avenues, because I felt underutilized. And also, yes, the content was very repetitive and regressive. Regressive and repetitive made it worse. So even if I sort of moved from one broadcaster to another, or one producer or creative director to another, everybody was doing the same thing, because everybody was competing with each other.
Yeah.
Everybody
the
wanted to
suits were
outdo
running
each other.
the storyline.
Yeah. The ratings were.
Yeah, the ratings were.
The ratings were.
Yeah.
So if you saw an Ekta Kapoor in one of her K shows get a rating of 24, someone who's getting a 5 wanted to exactly replicate that and aim for a 10. तो वैसा था. It was extremely competitive. There was a massive clutter. I did not subscribe to a lot of things that I was asked to do, because there came a point when I was like, यार ये नहीं होगा मेरे से यार. I can't beat a woman. I don't want to do that. मतलब मुझे अजीब लग रहा है अब. Yeah.
The slapping with the lightning bolt.
Yeah, I mean, but I had a great time, and a lot of what I have learned is because of TV.
So you obviously believe that mass content has a direct impact on society.
Cinema and any form of art has always had a direct impact on society. There have been revolutions throughout.
Have you picked projects that way?
Yes.
And this is interesting, because I asked this of a lot of people. Is there a responsibility on storytellers, on filmmakers, on storytellers on television, to tell stories in such a way that there is a positive impact on society, or should they just run the box office, because that's the business?
I think there is quite a bit of responsibility involved as well. Even with the ones who are just aiming for the box office, or not just, who probably prioritize box office. I think there is something called a conscience. But आज की तारीख में एक्टरों से वो चीज़ें एक्सपेक्ट की जा रही हैं जो सोशल वर्कर्स से एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं, या जो पॉलिटिशियन से एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं. वो नहीं हो सकता, राइट?
No, so see, for example, a film like Animal created a certain question of, is that really the kind of individual that should be made into a hero, that we know younger boys are going to sort of model themselves upon?
I mean,
do you believe that there is a responsibility there?
There is a responsibility, but I don't see anything wrong with an animal.
Okay.
I don't see anything wrong with the Kabir Singh either. They are not sudden shocks in this world. People like them exist. Love stories like Kabir Singh's love story exists. You might not subscribe to it, but there is a chunk that subscribes to it. They watched it and the film made 300 crores. So when an animal comes out, when you talk about a father-son relationship, yeah, I mean, violent, physically violent, gore, kids getting influenced. But cinema is not the only medium that is influencing the world. I mean, there are so many other things that are happening which also should be sort of taken into account. I mean, let us begin with that panwala selling cigarettes 100 meters away from the school. And let us as parents sort of look at ourselves. I mean, we sort of immediately point our fingers at, अरे ये सिगरेट पी रहा है तो ये एक्टर सिगरेट पी रहा है तो मेरा बच्चा भी सिगरेट उठाएगा, पर बाप जब घर में सिगरेट पी रहा है तो वो गलत नहीं है. तो आई मीन वो थोड़ी सी बॉर्डरलाइन हिपोक्रेसी तो है. तो Sandeep Wanga wanted to make a story about a father-son, wanted to make a father-son love story. He wanted to make a slick action film. He wanted to sort of tell the story his way. He said it. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people liked it. I think we should let it be. Sorry, you didn't finish the last bit of your question. I interjected again.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry.
But when you signed on Mirzapur, did you think that it was going to be the hit that it was?
Not at all. I mean, because by virtue of my work, I travel a lot and I do these, or back then I used to do these really shoestring budget movies, jahan pe London was a distant dream. We could only afford UP or Bihar or Delhi, max to max. So I've sort of traveled the heartlands of UP, Bihar especially. And I have always had this fascination with UP because most of my friends I kind of grew up in my professional career with, they migrated from to Mumbai. From Delhi, Haryana, UP, Mumbai. So we've gone to each other's homes and traveled a lot. And it's a different world. At least back in 2016 and 17 when we were shooting Mirzapur in Mirzapur, there were things that, and it's not just Mirzapur, you should actually go and watch a Vice documentary on Mirzapur. So Vice has come down and made a documentary on Mirzapur on what the carpet world is like in Bhadoi, what the textile industry is like in Mirzapur, what the underbelly is, what those so-called badlands are like in Dhanbad, what is coal, what is sand mining. You'll be appalled.
Yeah. So when...
But we didn't... Oh, sorry, I'm coming back to the question.
That's my question.
But yeah, that was your question. So we didn't. I very clearly remember I was in Lucknow. I was shooting for a film called Ram Prasad Ki Teli.
Yes.
A very special film. You know, all of us just got together. Another shoestring budget movie. So I entered my set at 7 a.m. Mirzapur had gone live that midnight.
Right.
I was fast asleep. I wake up because I have to report at 6:37. I reach at 7 o'clock. Start shooting. And I leave 7 p.m. I walk in. But the moment I pack up and I'm about to leave and head back to my hotel, there were hundreds of people at the gate. Because in those 17, 18 hours, half of Lucknow had seen Mirzapur. And somehow they got to know कि बबलू भैया यहाँ पे shooting कर रहे हैं. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And even the love the show still receives. You know, I'm an ardent Mirzapur fan. I watch it the moment it is live at 12 a.m. I'm on it by 12:15 and I binge watch it till I finish.
But what was it like to find out that they were killing off your character?
I was a little disappointed. I was a little disappointed because I had different plans in my own head. But that was a massive learning for me. A massive learning in my professional life because post that, I made sure that I read till the last word. Or I do not sign the contract until I know what I'm asked to do.
What happened in that case?
Minor miscommunication actually. Because it's a longer format. The writing process is an arduous, tedious task. It goes on even while you're shooting. I signed on Mirzapur and also I have a great rapport with Excel. Because they gave me they were kind enough to give me an opportunity in Dil Dhadakne Do.
Yes.
And Zoya and Farhan and Ritesh, they took a liking to me then and they knew कि TV का कोई लड़का है who's good at what he does, who wants to sort of do something. So they gave me a chance back then, and so I felt that these are the people who've been there with me when no one was. And the same goes to Vinod Chopra, Excel, Ekta. I verbally said a yes, and I signed on the contract after reading 6 episodes. And then when I read the later episodes, I was like, oh, they're like, we thought you read them. I said, when we signed, I don't think I was given the last 2 episodes. So that was a miscommunication. I should have been a little more careful.
12th fail. My God, what was that like? I mean, what an amazing... And for me, it's really interesting because I've been on this journey in this podcast talking about failure, and we've talked to IAS officers and cops and directors and actors. We're trying doctors. And everybody's life has this journey. But I felt like that was such a raw telling of a story. And did it change you while you were going through it?
Quite a bit. I hope to retain aspects of what I've learned in those 2.5 years for the rest of my life. Getting to know Vinod Chopra sir, Manoj sir, a few good friends that I made, Manoj sir's family actually, in fact, both his kids and wife, things that I felt while filming, things that I felt after the film. I think they will always remain special. I think, in fact, today morning, Manoj sir and I were together. We spent the entire day together.
Manoj is the real life.
Is the real Manoj Kumar Sharma.
Yes.
What an inspiring life. And what is all the more inspiring, Faye, is that he's an IG today with CISF. A celebrity in his own right. Hasn't changed one bit. Both husband and wife. It is so inspiring. A great son, a great husband, a great father, a great servant to the nation. He is one of those very few people I look up to in life. And including Vinod sir. Vinod sir is another person I really look up to in life. You know, I have gone on record to say this last year, when the film came out, that Vinod sir is actually that home in this labyrinth of Hindi cinema for me. What
was it like? Tell me what it was like shooting with him, because he's a very different director from what people are used to these days.
Yeah, I mean, and people use polite words like different, and he's unusual. He's a very difficult person to work with.
Okay.
And and the first thing that comes to your mind is, difficult. Is he badly behaved? Difficult in the sense that he is so pure as a person. Even after 45 years of filmmaking, after having tasted success, very few have like him. He still retains that purity, that childlike quality to go out there and tell a story the way he wants to tell it. Or his worldview, for that matter of fact. His worldview is phenomenal. I hope I can be him or anyway close to him when I'm 72. He's 73 in fact. And a lot of people don't like him because he tells you the absolute truth on your face. And all of us are so used to sort of, हमारी conditioning वैसी हो गई, right? कि हम चाहते भी हैं कि लोग हमें सच बोलें,
लेकिन सुनना नहीं है.
And especially when it comes from an absolute stranger, तब तो ऐसा लगता है कि बड़ा बदतमीज आदमी है. He treats his family and strangers the same way. I mean, इससे ज़्यादा मैं क्या ही बोलूं. बहुत straightforward आदमी है वो, and I wish him the best of everything in life. The best of health and everything. I love him. I thoroughly love him. He's my father figure in the Hindi film industry.
You've had a lot of success and one hopes a lot more to come.
नहीं, lot तो नहीं है मेरे हिसाब से. अभी तो शुरू हुआ है.
But what for you, What for you adds up to success? Is it because I remember reading somewhere you said that Mr. Chopra said that you've worked for so many years but nobody knows your name.
Yeah, that was also true. I could have taken it sort of
that way. That could have been hurtful, but you took it.
Could have been hurtful, but that was true.
So is fame success in your journey now? Everybody has a target. So is it to be considered an A-lister and be like the main guy on
I don't know what
a large film? No. So what is success in your mind? What is your target?
So this is something that I am still dabbling with, and I get this asked quite often. What success meant to me 10 years ago does not mean success to me now. When I started off, I thought of those people who made 1 lakh rupee a month as successful people. Having a Honda City is successful. But today what success means to me is having good health. Going back to my family, sleeping sound, having my parents around me, looking after them, being able to look after them, provide them, taking care of my friends and my family. What success also means to me is when someone walks up to you and asks for a selfie and tells you that thank you for your work, rather than saying that, oh my God, I love the way you look, or I love your 6-pack abs. Thank you for the work. You've inspired me. I want to be like you. When there are some younger actors who sort of, from television especially, who send you messages, who probably call you when they need that extra word of advice. That is success to me. To have a healthy child is success to me. To be able to make sure that my producers do not lose money is success.
Have you ever in your journey faced what was failure in your opinion?
Yeah.
When was it? Give me.
So when it comes to failure, I think those 2 years when I really wanted to sort of break in, and I almost did also at certain places, but I was not able to convert them because of XYZ reasons. So primarily that. But बहुत सारी चीज़ें और भी हैं. अब जैसे मैं सोच रहा हूँ ना, तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें आ रही हैं दिमाग में.
बताइए. Did you ever feel when you had made that switch? Because when you're making the decision, there are various reasons in your mind saying, okay, I'm going to leave a really lucrative contract on television and I'm going to strike out on my own. It's going to be fine. But then there are days where you're like, what did I do?
Yeah.
And you feel when you meet, and I know this because I've also been through a similar thing. There are days when you think, did I make the right decision? You have people in your social circle looking at you saying, what did you do? Like, अच्छा तो चल रहा था तुम्हारा.
You feel अच्छा चल रहा है. That is what matters. If you feel कि decision लेने के बाद अच्छा चल रहा है तो अच्छा चल रहा है.
But you don't feel like that every day.
Of course.
कभी-कभी डर लगता है.
लगता है, और वो 1 दिन भी नहीं, वो 4 दिन, 5 दिन, 10 दिन, महीना भी हो सकता है.
Because you have dependents, you have family, you have to provide, you have accountability, and you can't.
Yeah. I absolutely
Usul doesn't put food on the table.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely get you. But मेरा ये मानना है कि अगर यहाँ से आपको लग रहा है कि ठीक है, टफ है, but I think I can wake up another morning and walk the direction I've taken, तब तक ठीक है. अगर यहाँ पे जिस दिन लगे ना कि नहीं, change is the only constant. You can always unlearn and learn something new.
If you could right now go back at 37?
I'm 37.
To your 20-year-old self, who's just starting off, and industry is new, people seem senior, and reassure that person, what would you say?
At the cost of sounding pompous, can I tell you one thing? I was always a very self-assured guy. I've always been one.
Okay.
Barring those minor hiccups, but they are a part of life.
Yes.
I see those hiccups as very minor things which sort of complete you. I've always been a very self-assured guy. For example, when I took that decision to move from television and give myself a fair chance in Bollywood, I had almost finished 10 years in TV. When I started off, I told myself, I'm going to give myself 10 years in films as well. Also because I had the advantage of an early start. I started off at 17. By the time I had, say, almost 10 years of experience, my friends or people my age had 3-4 years of experience. So I had that advantage. And I said, I will reevaluate after 10 years. And I just finished 10 years last year.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's time.
And I think I've done pretty well. So what would I tell or reassure? I mean, barring those minor hiccups, I think I would, and I've been asked this question before. What I've also been asked is, would I want to change something about, my life? Not a day. Not a single day.
I wish, and I appreciate the fact that every decade of your life comes with different feelings, right? And I work with a lot of young people now, and I can see them going through the things that I went through when I was at the age where you're thinking, oh, am I in the right job? I'm not making as much money as this next person, or मेरी जो college के friends हैं उन्होंने घर खरीदा, उन्होंने गाड़ी खरीदा, उन्होंने. So you're constantly comparing, and you're worried, say, should I have studied more, or should I have started working? And there's a sense when you're 20 that you need to constantly compete. And I think as you get older, like you said, right, your focus then becomes health, it becomes family, it becomes peace.
Yeah.
Internal peace more than the chaos that's on the outside. And I feel that it doesn't matter what you do as long as you do it well.
Yeah.
The money will follow. And we all end up in the same place, which is we have a family, we have people we love, we want to protect, we want to look after, we want to just keep everyone safe and happy and mentally stable to the best extent. And that's really the focus. Just happiness and be around your loved ones. And so much time is wasted in youth, chasing after things that don't matter.
No, waste is not the right word. So much time is spent learning in youth rather. You might have not reached this conclusion had you not gone through that. I think all of us are a byproduct of every single experience of what we've gone through, good or bad, or even those insignificant ones. They've somewhere played a very important part in who we are today, and that is what life's continuous motion does to you. I'm still evolving, I'm still learning. This is what I feel right now. And with regards to money, I started off because of money, because I wanted money. Because I saw that money gives you respect. So I said कि ठीक है, पैसा कमाएंगे, पर किस तरह कमाएंगे वो मैं डिसाइड करूँगा. पैसा कमाना है. Because fortunately or unfortunately, society में अगर आपके पास पैसा है तो एक minimum guarantee of respect आपको मिल जाती है. Which I saw at a very young age. So that was my normal. कि money gives you respect in the world you're living in. But am I going to take a route which my parents would be ashamed of? Or would I be ashamed of? Or would I regret doing that? No. I will make the same money, but my way. The degrees change, the degrees differ. And I always tell this to people now that I have a son, when he's big enough to sort of have a conversation with me. I will tell him this, that, the ones who say that money cannot buy you happiness are stupid people. Because money buys you confidence, and that confidence gives you happiness. I felt confident after I started making my own money. When I stopped wearing my cousin's worn clothes, when I could actually go to Fashion Street. I'm not going to a Pantaloons or a West Side. I'm going to Fashion Street, but I'm buying unworn clothes. That gave me confidence. And that confidence gave me happiness. When I did not have to sort of sneak into a second class compartment in an Andheri Churchgate local without a ticket, and when I could go and pay 440 rupees and have my first class pass and have it laminated and in my pocket, I felt confident. That confidence gave me happiness. So, very recently in an interview, I spoke about this thing. The day I got myself an expensive car, the same people, their good mornings changed just by virtue of a new car under my ass. But that is how the world is. तो हाँ मतलब ऐसा ही है.
What's a dream project for you next?
A dream project. A dream film. I don't know. I mean, dream film.
Some black ambition to play James Bond.
I mean, I would love to. I'm a huge James Bond fan. I'm a big Batman fan. I mean, dream film के बारे में मैं नहीं सोचता हूँ. It's strange, you know. There are people I want to work with. There are many of them I want to work with, but there is no dream film. I mean, when people ask me what are the roles you wish you could have done, I always say Bhuvan from Lagan. And as we spoke, you know, a child changes your worldview. So what I dream of right now is other things besides a dream film or a project. I'm content where I am. Where I am is a lot of people's dreams. So I'm happy where I am. I dream about other things these days, Faye. I dream about sending my child to a good school. I dream about sending him to the best possible university in this world, or probably saving enough for him to lead a comfortable life in my absence. तो ये सारी चीज़ें. अब मैं इन चीज़ों के बारे में ड्रीम कर रहा हूँ. You know, I'm not dreaming about a movie or anything, right? Because they are happening. Things are happening.
Are you a real estate, a fixed deposit, or a stocks guy?
I'm a bit of everything. So,
But everybody has a favorite.
I'm more of a real estate guy.
You're more of a real estate guy.
Conventional, old school real estate.
Illiquid, chunky.
हाँ, कि जो भी है market में डालना है डालो. Parents have given up. They don't know shit about market. उनको तो आज भी ऐसा लगता है कि मार्केट में कोई मेरे को बेवकूफ़ बना के चले जाएगा. आज भी मेरी माँ को ऐसा लगता है कि be careful. Naive people, sweet people. But conventionally, real estate.
You're a real estate guy.
Yes, I'm a real estate guy. So my wife and I, we try buying properties. We would choose buying a property or investing in a property or land over a big chunk of investment in the market. Because we also want to retire young, yeah.
But I mean, there is the argument that if you put money in stocks, the return actually outstrips real estate with none of the cost and none of the management that real estate
but
takes.
you know, for a middle class guy, a roof and land matters much more. Right? I mean, कुछ भी हो, सर के ऊपर छत मेरी है, घर मेरा है. खाना नहीं भी होगा, मैं कुछ ना कुछ करके कर लूँगा. घर नहीं होगा तो जाऊँगा कहाँ? जिनको साथ लेके चलने का वादा किया है, उनको रखूँगा कहाँ? वो ज़्यादा ज़रूरी होता है यार एक मिडिल क्लास आदमी के लिए. राइट? तो मेरे लिए वो ज़्यादा मैटर करता है. मार्केट में भी डालता हूँ पैसा मैं. किया है मैंने. But now if I have to choose either or, I will choose
real
estate or land over market any day. I mean, we saw what happened in 2008. We saw what happened in COVID.
But it always recovers, you know that, right?
It does, but I mean, I'm
a mutual fund girl.
I'm a very busy man. I really don't have a lot of time to keep an eye on the markets. I want to focus on what I do, and I just want to. I don't care if it's 6%. I know यहाँ पे 8% मिल रहा है. That 2% is not going to make a massive difference in my life.
You know, give me an Excel sheet and I will show you the difference that 2%
Yeah,
will make.
my banker says the same thing, but I am a conservative in that case. I'm very happy with what I have. But now that you're egging me on, I think I'm going to go and invest a little more in the market soon.
I'm just being mischievous here. But Vikrant, thank you.
But I like you more after meeting you. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm glad.
Thank you so much. I've been a
pleasure.
fan.
Thank you.
And I have sent you those messages saying that I'm a fan. I look up to you, for what you stand for what you do. Happier to have met you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. I know you've had a busy day, and it's been a pleasure to sit down with you, and I wish you very, very good luck.
Same to you. I
Thank
wish you all the luck. All the luck.
Thank you.
All the luck and happiness. Yeah.